Call this meeting of the Audit and Finance Committee to order. I will take the roll call. Legislator Gilmore. Here. Teresa Frace.
No.
Or I'm Elizabeth Frace. I don't know what I'm thinking there.
I was like, what?
No, there was an old comptroller person, Teresa Frace.
Oh.
That just, I don't know why that just popped in my head. And then Dorinda Darden. Here. Mark Cornell present. We have a quorum. It is 103.
I just wanted to point out that Dorinda does not count in our quorum.
Okay, well, we
still do.
Yeah, we still have.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize. Did not officially.
We can't appoint anyone from the library until they appoint their director.
Oh, okay. I thought in this circumstance it was.
No, she's here.
Considered like an ex officio.
Yeah, no, we asked. We can't do that.
Okay.
So we gotta wait.
Well, that's.
We're waiting on their process.
Good.
But she comes in so that they're updated and everything.
Okay. Well, regardless, we do have a. Quorum. So our first orders of business would be to confirm everyone has had a chance to review the minutes from our March 18th and August 19th meetings and see if anyone had any edits or changes.
Did we change your title?
Sure did.
Yeah, we did.
We did. I see it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so thrilled about it. Okay, with that then, can I have a motion for approval?
Motion approved.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes for both meetings have been approved. So with that, we can move on to our first agenda item, which would be the August financials.
Sure. So, nothing very significant except that we're still spending money. But on good things, on things that we need for the system. There'll be there is one thing. I don't know how it shows on here, but there was just a note from the accountants that because of timing of checks, it looked like we had, a negative balance of like 600,000, around 600,000 of uncashed checks versus what we had in the bank, but we didn't ever. We moved 500,000 over in the first week of September, but on top of that, after that note came through from the accountants, Courtney and ECC and the accountants went through some checks that actually had been cashed. It was like an error within our system that we use for our accounting versus what they see in the bank. And then did we ever find?
Like permits were canceled and
yeah, canceled permits, things that we didn't no longer needed to pay that just hadn't been cleaned up in the system. So we got all that worked out. We were able to reinvest. We pulled 500,000 and reinvested $1 million, I believe. Yeah, I think we pulled 500,000 in September. We reinvested $1 million, and just went with the same investment strategy that we've had, where we put the $1 million down at the end. I think we're in August of 26. We're around 3 million still. It doesn't jump as much as it used to on our investments that we've brought in. And John, you missed last meeting, but we had a mirrored account that we set up to put $500,000 in. So we have 2 investment accounts now. One will just hold the $500,000, and that's our collateral for, we have a Verizon, what are those things called? A Verizon letter of credit that we have to hold, and we have to collateralize it. And so that just collateralizes it. The bank was requiring additional paperwork, so it just made it easier to pull that out, so that every time we pulled funding out of our investments, which we do, every other month, every month, here and there, probably more likely every month, we'd have to do an extra step. So it was just easier to pull a mirrored account. It doesn't cost us any more money. There was like a number that was mixed up in something I signed last week when they were here, so we re-signed that, but everything is good to go on that account. It's set up. And so you will start to see in the financials 2 accounts. One will always have the 500,000 and whatever we gain on interest there, and then the other money will be separated out. Other than that, everything's good in our financial world. Any questions? No? All right.
Okay, and with that, I think we can move on to our next agenda item, which is our 2026 proposed budget review. For that, very excited that Fred North is here in person. I've never gotten a chance to meet you in person. So
He was here, no, he was here last year.
Thanks.
But his hair was
Okay,
shorter.
maybe that's why. Okay,
It's
okay.
like that late.
Okay, so we can get into that a little bit. I mean, certainly we had some discussions with our last meeting about the budget proposal for 26, and the big change, if you will, is, and this is a little bit of the pro-con of, you know, some of the delay that we had with the Make Ready, is that both we're a little bit behind where we had anticipated being, but that also then extends out our period of time where we, you know, believe we still have our ARPA dollars remaining a little bit further than we had originally anticipated. So with that, I think, you know, what would be the best use of our time is maybe talking about any of the, you know, new assumptions or changes to assumptions since maybe last month to start out with.
Yeah, there really wasn't a lot. Some of the only, I had more of a chance to kind of look at cash and how it would kind of flow out over time. So I added a little bit of investment income into the 2027. And then there was a little bit of a shift in capital asset outlay. But I would say nothing overly material. Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably the best page to look at, that we'll probably talk the most about, the one that Courtney just put up, that has
Yes.
the 3 budgets. And just to keep John up to speed, so last month, we presented 2 budgets to the Finance Committee. One without the MIP grant that we just got, and one with it. And now we are fully in and have received the award letter, and we're moving forward with the MIP grant. So we are using the MIP budget, which, you know, I'll have Fred explain again, but really, we never go into a cash negative situation anymore, which is like huge. And so I'll let Fred take over, but what I kind of wanted to prep the group on is we are going over some of these finalized numbers with you today as our second time reviewing it with the Finance Committee. Unlike these meetings in the past, there aren't many changes from meeting 1 to meeting 2 because we've, you know, have a budget. One year we didn't even have a budget ever, and we had to create one. That was 2 years ago. Then last year we had the budget, but we kind of wanted to make it work for us now that we had gone through 1 year of budgeting. And this year we're kind of in that spot where we feel pretty comfortable with the numbers we're using. I mean, we obviously have to submit to ABO. We don't have a lot of wiggle room on what we can report to, but so we're just going to kind of go over those numbers with you today and then show you what we'll be presenting, which will be the board's as a whole's first time seeing the 2026 budget.
Okay.
And just to remind everyone of the process, after today's initial meeting, they'll have an opportunity to talk or ask questions, ask for any particular changes they want to see, or just investigate into a little bit more of what we have on here. Nothing should be of a big surprise. And then the next month, you guys will meet for a final time to make sure the budget that we present to you is the budget that you want to recommend to the board, and the board will actually vote. They have to vote on it in October.
Okay.
So now's your opportunity, just if there's any questions that this committee has before we present it to the board or just in general, this is the time to do it, because we really have to kind of finalize things before the next meeting, because that will be the budget that has to be voted. The reason we have to vote in October is because we have to submit by law to the ABO by October 31st. Anyway, Fred?
Sure. What's on this page, the top group up there was actually what the budget was last year. I put it on here just so we can kind of see kind of some of the delays we're running into. So just a lot of dollars have shifted out into time while you look through this. When you look at the top down to the middle section there, the middle section there is without the MIP. So what you'll see there is, you know, by 2027, you get into a situation where you would be running at a loss, so to speak. But again, just wanted to kind of demonstrate a lot of the things have shifted out over time, where you'll see at the top, the capital asset outlay, it was pretty heavy. We had in 24 and 25, and that's just essentially been pushed to 26. You'll also see that, you know, there's more investment earnings in 26, because obviously we assumed early last year, most of that cash would have been used up to build out the network. So those are the positives of the delays, including getting the MIP grant. And then you'll kind of see in the bottom, it's just assuming that MIP grant comes in, and then you'll see that we can run at a neutral budget of 27 instead of at a loss, and then positive going forward based on our revenue assumptions that we have.
And then based on the the dynamics of this new version of the MIP grant, we're able to swing the cash flow decently with that. So obviously, we had been preliminarily talking about it, you know, some point in earlier iterations, possibly needing to do some sort of short-term note or a you know, direct placement with a bank to get a loan, a cash flow loan, essentially. But now with this lesser version, we think we can absorb the initial cost of the MIP before, you know, in the timeline we're going to be getting reimbursed.
Yeah, so we have 4 milestones, and I mean, the grant was only for 5 million, so we feel very confident that our cash flow, unless something's changed, and Fred can say if it has, but I'm sure it hasn't. We feel pretty confident that we can swing those milestones, and then when the first milestone reimbursement comes in, that'll pay for the next step and the next step, and so we're not worried about that because of the size of the grant. Had we done the larger grant that was like 27 to 34 million or whatever we were going to ask for, it kept switching. Then we would have needed to do those short-term borrowings.
Well, and it would have been for work above and beyond what we were sort of planning. That's kind of the benefit of this lesser version of the MIP, is it's kind of more within the bucket of what we were already planning to do.
Yeah, and it covers what you see on this.
Some costs.
Yeah, I mean, if you look on this budget, you can almost see it. So our 2026 without MIP, in 2027, we would have been short 2.2 million. Well, that's the cost of the Buffalo build almost, give or take some. And the MIP covering the Buffalo build now is where we're getting our positive 2.2 back. So, yeah, I think we have that was a great exercise, honestly. We went out and we talked to some financial institutions and kind of gathered some information on how we could do short-term borrowing or bonding versus borrowing, and we found a couple good solutions and made some good partnerships with people who essentially could come in and fund, you know, if UB was to come back to us and say, we want to do a big build, and we require 50% of that build up front, and we needed 50% of that build to cover, we could go and do that quite easily now. So it was actually a really good exercise for us to kind of learn the different options that ErieNet can take advantage of and be prepared next time we get something that we might need to borrow.
When you can do it, a direct placement is the way to go, because it's so much less work involved with it, and you're not, I don't want to say in the other instance you're wasting money, but there's a lot of cost of issuance involved that isn't involved with.
Yeah, I mean, the interest rates weren't cheap. But if it's short term
but
and
if
you're
you
able
look at the cost of issuance plus the interest together, it's pretty competitive.
Yeah, I agree.
For a low borrow.
Yeah, as long as we're not borrowing for an extended amount of time, I think it's the perfect option. Yeah. Sorry, Frank.
No, that's fine. I mean, the only caveat I put on all of this is, how long the reimbursements will take. That's yet to be seen. I have a suspicion it might get longer as time goes on, so.
Yeah, I mean, the only part that's in our control is submitting.
Right.
So as long as we're on point with submitting, that's the best we can do.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk to the board about this, but the good news is too is, what you're not seeing in this grant or this application, it doesn't affect ErieNet too much because this is more affecting City of Buffalo, Erie County, and Lackawanna, but Connectel has agreed to reconsider the networking costs.
Wonderful.
They're not guaranteeing they're gonna do it, but they've asked us to resubmit an additional proposal for it, and they wanna actually include it into the incentive proposal that they're waiting for us to sign, which actually makes me think even better that they might do it, because they're holding off an incentive proposal signature while waiting for this.
They're gonna reconsider the whole thing.
So we'll be closer to our 10 million that we originally asked for, with some minor adjustments.
Just shy of 8.
Yeah, so, but that's huge.
Mhm.
If they say yes, that's huge for Buffalo, Lackawanna, and the county, public safety sites, so, which that helps ErieNet. It's just, well, really no, just Erie County. So it's a big win for the municipalities that we, went out for that grant for. So just keep that in mind, that somehow will play into this budget a little bit, right?
It would.
But that's in and out money.
Again, it would significantly help Erie County defray their managed network services costs.
Yeah. I mean, and what was the cost, like 1.2 million or something?
For,
Erie County alone?
well, it's a little higher than that, but we get back about 1.2.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. But that may change these numbers up a little bit. That's in and out of money. That's in and out money though. It's because with that, we're not paying for those network pieces that will be,
Mark
City.
brings up a good point though about the reimbursement. Maybe Fred, you brought it up. When we made the grant application, we put our first milestone at December 1st, so we would submit our first payment application. Well, we've now learned that Connectal won't even have our agreement in place until end of year, sometime in December. So we won't be able to submit a payment application until we have an agreement. We'll have it all queued up, ready to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as long as we feel reasonably confident that that this is all moving forward
So
and
I'm just
timing
saying,
issues.
you issue it first part of January, by the time they review it, approve it, send the check, it could be March 1st.
Mhm.
When we see that first.
Yeah, 90
There's no
days.
consequences for being late?
from the state?
Yeah, so I mean, the deadline was December 1st, but we can still submit late,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, pushes our schedule up, yeah.
that's it.
The ultimate due date is still 12/31/26.
Okay.
And that's the risk that ErieNet has, is if we only get 90% of it done by December 31st, then they'll claw back 10%.
I mean, the good news though
If the
is.
But
If
90% would
the
be
feds
covered that we
claw
didn't
back.
have
Yeah,
covered
and
before.
also right now, based on the dynamics of the remaining ARPA dollars and so on, we're pretty cash rich to be able to front load.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
there's no
Where,
problem.
Other organizations aren't able to do that, so even little timing issues become a huge problem. They won't necessarily become until, some delays from the state start, extending, past like 6 months.
Yeah. It should work out, even if, and I don't think this will happen, but even if we lose out on 10% of the project, we're still getting 90% of it covered that we weren't before, that
It's
we were
defraying costs
budgeting
we were
for.
gonna have to
Exactly,
cover
yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, if you look at it that way, there's minimal risk.
Yeah.
It's all upside.
Yeah, and we should, like you said, Mark, we can cover that cost for quite a while. We have, I think, I always get it wrong. What did we have? We just did this exercise, 21 million. I still think we're around 20.
Yeah, approximately.
Anything else you want to bring up? Any questions from this committee that you would like to see on here? I mean, I guess the one thing is that some of these numbers could change just a little bit. And I don't even know if in time for that budget meeting we would have at that. And again, those are in and outs, but if it may change a little bit depending upon if we do get the incentive proposal with the additional funding in there. Shouldn't adjust it too much, but it might adjust some numbers, right?
Yeah. And the extra pages after the summary are just more detail. It gets to the same place. If you want.
Yeah, it just opens up for the sort of ADO version of.
And the ADO version's all the way at the end.
Yeah, this dives down into line items on the budget. Nothing drastic. We have to keep guessing at things like healthcare and fees and our legal fees. My God, we never know. I'm estimating, I think, probably low on the legal fees. That's just a hopeful estimate, I think. It's been going down. It has. It has been going down shockingly high.
Associated with the assessment question, I think, probably.
That doesn't help, and then, yeah, it's not, it has been going, we haven't, yeah, I mean, we're moving towards.
Disposal of real property.
Yeah. There are a few ongoing issues that I think cost us a lot, but we still have contracts going on. The contracts are what's costing us the most amount of money, so. But we have Andrew, we use Andrew significantly. I'd say 99% of the time we're using Andrew and not Bob, which is saving us money as well. And he's gotten very good at he's our, we hardly go to Bob anymore. He has a good, might go to Bob, but we have a good, he has a good grasp on our operations and contracts.
Yeah, I also generally think that, as the organization is here longer, I think we're all, because I mean, this was all a new exercise for all of us, or most of us. The longer we have until that sort of line of demarcation, which is the point where, we move on from the, grant construction project to operations and maintenance, the longer that gets pushed out, almost the better, because we're more established, we're working better. So that being pushed out into 2027, I think is a positive thing. I think one of the probably big tasks then through 2026 is going to be starting to prepare for that period of time and to make sure that, as Matt, you had said, you have a pretty, rigid definition of how much you need for, to put aside for, maintenance of a network. And we need to then start preparing to make sure that, our reoccurring revenues can cover that maintenance overlay that we're going to have to now build in as a reoccurring, or expenditure, or at least if anything, a reoccurring set aside towards future everything.
Yeah, so, and then we'll have to really start focusing on revenue versus expense.
Well, once we're able to start demonstrating some deliverables, I think that's also gonna happen. We're still, at a point right now, we're still selling promise. Mm-hmm. We're not selling a final product yet. And
well, we're getting close.
It has its own challenges.
Yeah. We have a lot of people reaching out because we're almost to that final product.
Yeah, as we get closer to being 6 months away from delivering services, then you can sign contracts with confidence.
Here's the thing is, I know there's been some acrimony and angst over some of the, media accounts over the past little while. But if you look at it from a different point of view, there's no such thing as bad press.
Right.
That maybe has been generating a little bit more of the interest, even though, kind of in a fortuitous backwards way.
Right.
I mean, there's not, I mean, I'll go back to what we talked about the last directors meeting. I don't even know how to respond to some of the negativity because we're building the network.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, we're not on there saying it's not happening. Like, it's actually happening. It's like a fantasy land that they're living in, that there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong.
I don't believe we're the first New York State capital project to be running slightly behind schedule.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And to be fair, this is a particularly complicated and
It's
ambitious
so
project, and it's
complicated.
also a project that's a little bit hard to describe in some ways, because it takes a level of technological, aptitude to really understand what it is we're actually doing. So I think a lot of the criticisms, more than anything, tell on some of those individuals of how little their knowledge base actually is of what we're doing.
Yeah, and you can't go on TV and say to the general public, we're behind on make ready. Nobody knows what that means.
They still don't really appreciate that we're a middle mile.
Yeah.
They still think, when are you
Yeah,
getting?
when
to-
am
when
I
are you
getting
to my
ErieNet
house?
to my house?
Well, to be fair, I mean, it took a number of us, myself, like, it took a while to really understand what it was we were actually doing.
Right. Anything else on the budget? Because we do have one more topic we have to get to before.
I mean, I think we look in pretty good shape, and we have it's a pretty basic budget. Once we got the foundation set up, which took a little bit of time to do, now it's really, I mean, it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Not to
We don't have to
dismiss
cut
any
anything
work,
yet. That's
but
why
it's-
it's not complicated.
I don't mean that in that way, but it's a pretty straightforward. I mean, you can see the budget, and it makes sense what we're talking about here, and
Next year, we're gonna complicate it with revenue.
Yeah. Versus expense, and then we'll
and
have to cut things
projections and how
down.
we come up with those projections.
Yeah.
Like, there will be, as we're going forward, I think we're probably gonna have to take more time scrutinizing revenue projections and things like that, but we're just not at that point yet.
Okay.
Because that's gonna be, I think for all of us, should be a significant point of caution or concern is, if we can't successfully transition, then a lot of this might be for naught.
Right. We can. We will be successfully transitioned. All right, awesome. So we will send out again for the next meeting, the finalized portion. Hopefully we can get it out to them, maybe just the budget piece a little earlier, so you can take a look at it. And if you have any questions or anything, bring that up right away, and then we'll address it before we present it to the board for the final authorization. But at your next Audit and Finance Committee meeting, you'll be authorizing or recommending to the board to authorize the approval of the budget. All right. Then we'll move on to our last thing, right, Mark? I didn't mean to take over.
No,
Sorry,
that's
go
fine.
ahead.
Internal check control processing guideline review.
So as you recall, last month, we had requested that this committee review or reevaluate the policy that we have in place that allows me to approve 10,000 and below, and anything above that needs to be approved by myself and Thomas, which has worked great for the 2 years, but now our bills are way bigger. And so we're like flooding Thomas with more than I think we need to do, but that's really, that's your judgment. And so Fred prepared, if you look at the very back of your packet, prepared kind of a glimpse of, where the most that we do, and this is historical. So for the last 2 years, most of our checks fall in the range of $0 to $5,000, and then it goes kind of like down from there, and then we have a little bit upswing between 20 and 50,000. I would say our average, what did you think? Our average check was like 18,000-ish. And that's because we're paying utilities. A lot of times we have multiple utility bills that we put into one, so then it has to be approved because Verizon, we have to pay 16 different permit fees or whatever, poll applications, and National Grid, we had to submit $51,000, So then it becomes a larger amount instead of having, 15 different checks for National Grid and Verizon. And so the approval becomes larger. So I'm recommending, but this is ultimately your decision, I don't need to be involved in it, but maybe we move it up to 20,000 and then anything 20,000 and beyond would have to be approved. That's your comfort level and what you guys think. Again, most of what we're approving are contractual funds anyway. You're already approving them through, actually all of what we're approving is contractual funds, with the exception of our insurance, changes is insurance, but again, you approve those changes. So a lot of this, there's really not a lot of thought that I have to that goes into what we pay out there. This is just honestly a procedural request so that Thomas doesn't have as many checks to double approve. Courtney's not waiting on Thomas. If Thomas is gone, not waiting on Mark for the second approval in an area in which, these checks are pretty much the same checks. So you guys talk amongst yourselves. That's my presentation on that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think at least 20,000 is a no-brainer. I don't know if I would have comfort level going up to 50, but I could probably, if we knew what the breakdown between 20 and 50 was, if, the lion's share of that was in the 20 to 30, I probably could be swayed to go up to 30.
I have homework.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
Well, just, I think easily 20 is not that much of a lift at all. 50 would be, I think, too much. So somewhere between the two feels better, and wherever that, that critical mass is, because it would be great if, we could keep the significant, already the significant majority, but of the new that we're considering, if the significant majority could fit with inside, I would be okay.
Mark, you're missing. Would the same section of general municipal law apply to our AVO that utilities would technically not need board approval?
Yeah, so, but this is more our internal process.
Right, but I for myself, I can authorize any utility bill. I don't need.
No, yes, yeah,
board
that,
approval.
yeah, which we can follow, but our internal process is, it doesn't matter what it's for. Anything above 10,000 has to be double approved, not just
basically
for the board. It's just, it's just,
Yep.
this is $10,005, so it goes to Thomas or Mark, yeah.
That's fair. Today's world.
Yeah, and we're looking through this, and this is not even of the statement for this week. This isn't even a good example, because you either have really low ones or you have really high ones. There's not even a lot of middle ones, but we've been seeing a lot more middle ones. I don't know, maybe it cuts it down 10% for Thomas, but that's 10%. So
Yeah, I would say if it really makes a difference, I would be okay with 25 to 30, if that actually is meaningful. Like, it's tough to tell.
it is.
It would be my
Can you do
assumption
that? The 20
that the
to 30?
majority is.
Fred's gonna work on that, yeah.
Well, it would also be my assumption here, just based on, the way you're seeing this, everything kind of falls into a bell curve to some degree. So it would be my assumption that the majority of this 151, transactions for $4.8 million probably falls on the low side.
Well, if the average transaction is 31 and change, then it's probably, between 25 and 30. I would agree with you, Mark. I'd be comfortable with a 25 to 30.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to decide between 25 and 30. We're gonna need a number.
Well, so that's the question. Do you want that today, or Fred, are you trying to?
That's up to you
Give
guys.
us an idea right now.
No, I mean, you can consider it for next time if he can get the number, or make it, just pick a number, and then we'll see how that goes.
Just do 25 for now. You want to change it?
25,
Yeah,
yeah.
we can, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I'd rather be like a 25 to a 30 versus a 27.5. For Courtney's sake, yeah. So 25.
Okay.
So I think you'll have to do a resolution on that,
Okay.
just a generalized one.
So just a verbal
Yep.
resolution? Okay, can I have a motion to, in favor of a resolution to change our internal control check processing guideline review to increase the dollar limit to $25,000 that can be made without secondary review. Can I have a
I would just add in by the executive director.
by the executive director without secondary review? Can I have
Motion approved.
a motion second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved. 25,000.
All right, thank you. And then we'll reevaluate that. It should be good, but, I mean, the 10,000 lasted for a good 2 years, so. Who seconded, Jason? Jason? Yeah.
Well, yeah, minimum, it's gonna cut down on about 10%.
All right.
Okay, so I think that is everything. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned at
138.
1:38.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.